The USG Ishimura is an old ship. A planet cracker, very first of its kind. A ship with a mission. At the age of 62, with 34 planet crackings under its belt, the crew of the USG Ishimura is about to make a discovery. This mission of the USG Ishimura is not planet cracking, as the planet cracker moniker might suggest. This last run of the Ishimura is not intended to mine valuable materials. When operations reach a certain size, it can be difficult to ascertain who's in control and what their motives are. And it can be easy to hide shadowy tactics. Tactics such as replacing a large part of the operational crew with people that are more understanding of the true mission and potential of the USG Ishimura. The Concordance Extraction Corporation, or CEC, was founded in the 22nd century around 2100 AD with the goal of extracting valuable resources from planets and asteroids in space. Initially, the corporation focused on asteroid mining and resource extraction, but it later expanded into other industries, including weapons manufacturing, genetic research, and space exploration. With this came the creation of the planet cracker starships. The varied product lines can be observed on the Ishimura itself, with numerous tools and commercials having the CEC logo stamped upon them. This hints at the sheer scale and power of the CEC, as it seems to be a major supplier of its own operations. There simply is no competition to this mega corporation. It does seemingly have a partnership with Schofield Tools, as this organization produces a vast amount of the tools-turned-weapons Isaac finds on the Ishimura. Another notable corporation is Teak Technologies, a contractor for EarthGov who seemingly has little affiliation with the CUC. It's unclear what the CEC's ties to the Church of Unitology was at the creation of the USG Ishimura, but at the time of the incident, these ties were very strong. So strong that the CEC Executive Director of Colonial Mining Affairs ensured that a large part of the crew was swapped out with Unitologists just prior to the Ishimura's last planet crack. The disastrous results of this planet crack resulted in the CEC's downfall, and it would eventually fade from the public stage. One last thing before we get to the Ishimura itself. Let's talk about Unitology. Transformation and rebirth. Not particularly unique aspects of any religion, or in this case, a cult. Unitologists are, however, characterized by having a strong practical belief in this concept. And the object that brings about humanity's rebirth? The marker. Through this marker, death would simply be the beginning of transformation and unification, something to be celebrated rather than feared. The cult's shadowy nature runs deep. Altman be praised, a common phrase within the cult, is misguided. A belief of divinity built on a lie told over and over. This Michael Altman, ostensibly the founder of Unitology, was in fact an opponent of the church, and his attempts to sabotage Unitology would ultimately end up getting him killed. This didn't stop the church at all. A legend could be built on Altman's ashes and wielded like a weapon that would ensure the church would become one of the most powerful organizations known to man. So powerful, it rivaled EarthGov, the executive branch of Earth and all its colonies. This power extended to the point where the church would end up gaining de facto control of the CEC. The events on the Ishimura seemed to instill a crisis of faith in some of the resident Unitologists. When death is spoken of in warm, beautiful terms, the messy affairs of the outbreak certainly caught some off guard. But as alluded to just before, faith can be a powerful thing. And most of the Unitologists certainly kept their faith during the outbreak and made preparations for the death and unification that they've looked forward to for such a large part of their life. When everyone else panicked, these crew members calmly welcomed rebirth and helped non-believers move towards unification as well. The Ishimura, built in 2446, is complex and utterly bewildering. It's a hostile place to any human on board, and it was so long before being overrun with the unified inhabitants. Most rooms are oppressive by their very nature. Few feature windows to the outside star-filled space. Even the few public spaces don't have window privileges. And the same goes for the CEC higher-ups, who may have nice red carpeting and wood paneling in their rooms, but again, no windows. An absolutely suffocating atmosphere is thereby established, where the only time you wouldn't feel locked in would be when you visited the bridge or, strangely, in certain hallways. Lighting is also aggressively anti-human. Much of the lighting is indirect, which could in theory work if it weren't for the fact that most surfaces are either dark or quite reflective. You'll have to look around for quite a while to find a white wall. These lights are often hidden behind grates or fans, hidden below walkways or nooks and crannies. Lots of the lighting is out due to the ongoing crisis the ship is experiencing throughout the game, but even if all the lights were fully functioning, the ship would still be incredibly poorly lit. Many offices have brown darkened walls with few lights to illuminate them. The walls and floors of the Ishimura are furthermore not fit to create a nice working space. They are often of a complex construction with many overlapping layers or filled with symmetrical holes. It seems incredibly easy to get a foot or a hand stuck in between these layers, and God forbid if you drop anything on a walkway, as these items would surely fall through the holes. There are also several spaces that have large, sharp chunks of metal jutting out into the path of anyone who walks through, and others overrun with cables messily strewn about. When Steve Jobs was in the hospital in 2009 receiving a liver transplant, he would often criticize the design of the medical equipment the doctors used. Stuff like his blood oxygen monitor and the oxygen mask he was wearing. Things got so bad that he at one point refused to wear his oxygen mask and asked the staff to bring him 5 different oxygen masks that he would then choose from. Jobs was a design extremist. This form of extremism included the packaging, the design of the hardware and software, and even the sound the device made when it was turned on. All was meant to fit together, and no thing was to be overlooked. And if something didn't fit into his grand design vision, it would jut out like a sore thumb to him. I bet the in-world designers in Dead Space would be much the same way as Steve Jobs. The USG Ishimura resembles that of a dying animal, lying on its back, slowly decaying. This motif of the ribcage and the ribs it consists of are repeated throughout every single item or structure on the USG Ishimura. It's as if every single designer in the universe is on the exact same page. The exposed ribcage motif is repeated on the floor, on lockers, trash cans, Isaac's tools, his own suit, and the furniture. Even some light fixtures are equipped with rib-like metal protrusions. Sofas and chairs resemble spines of hollowed-out bodies, while you'll have to look long and hard to find any lines or beams that are simply straight. Most jut out or in, contributing to the complex and hostile feel to the ship. This decompositional design extremism even extends to the various in-game UIs. Isaac and his crew is not just trapped on a ship overrun with reborn members of a death cult. They're also surrounded by design with one singular, constant motif. Any illusion or feeling of escape is throttled by this lack of design variance. Wherever Isaac looks, death stares back. This approach to the Ishimura doesn't make much sense. The ship, the tools, the furniture, all are complex in their structure. But this contrasts to what the game wants you to think about the CEC. Many areas of the ship are incredibly unsafe, with walkways lacking railings, moving machinery, and extreme temperatures. It seems like the only thing the CEC does about safety is to hang up posters reminding workers of the importance of avoiding the dangers of the environment. It gives a strong impression that the CEC doesn't care about its employees. This impression is strengthened by the fact that the old Ishimura was supposed to be decommissioned many years ago. And it's not the case that all starships are unsafe like the Ishimura. The USM Valor, for example, has more well thought out corridors, and the structure of the ship itself makes it less likely for anyone to get stuck in between machinery or trip over needless holes in the floor. The CEC is a massive corporation that has designed a deeply unsafe ship that performs illegal mining on a regular basis and has postponed the decommissioning of this incredibly unsafe ship. But this apparent ruthless capitalistic image is betrayed by the fact that manufacturing the complex structure of the Ishimura would be highly expensive, not to mention the cost of losing an employee in deep space. Replacements are expensive, as you then have to train them up again and you lose any deep knowledge the deceased employee had acquired. It's a ship designed to cause unease, regardless of the logic behind this design. This may seem like criticism of the in-world design, but it's not. These seemingly expensive and needless design decisions may conflict with what we know about the CEC, but it only shows up under intense scrutiny. When just playing the game, the USG Ishimura feels right. All the complex structure and rib-like design lends itself well to the Outbreak. It implies the ship and the organic structures made by the Outbreak are not at odds with each other, they complement each other. The holes in the walls and walkways may seem chaotic, but they often repeat in the same patterns, and they're perfect for the organic structures to interweave with, just like a plant support grid helps plants grow. The Ishimura simply seems tailor-made for structured chaos. There's always pain.